Okay, so I just finished the episode not that long ago.
What'd you think?
Yo, that had me confused several times and emotional, and also just like WTF.
So a boys episode is what you're saying.
It sounds about right, yeah.
Well, I do want to say, and I was horribly wrong, because I for whatever reason was under the impression that this season was Carl Urban's last season. Apparently, it is not. So, like this entire season leading up, I was like, expecting some kind of like end for Butcher in this thing, and obviously, at the end, I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Like, this was his last episode. And then I went and looked it up online, and no, it was not his last episode. Apparently, he was going to be leaving at the end of season 5, which we now know is going to be the last season of The Boys anyway. So I was like horribly confused, like the last 5 minutes of the episode, because I'm like, are they going to like rush this ending for Butcher, which should be epic? And instead it was, I mean, it's still a great ending. But yeah, to anybody out there who's been listening to me ramble on for this entire season about how this was Carl Urban's
This
last
last one.
season, I was horribly wrong.
No, I was under the same impression because I was getting apparently some false news from Finch. Just kidding. But I was thinking like, okay, I didn't know that until you just told me right now. So I was thinking like, okay, are they going to be switching him with like Kessler and he's like taking the place where you can see him going like full into like psychosis where we don't actually see him anymore? But this makes sense because I was just like, what happened?
Yeah,
Tentacle monster. That was interesting.
I'm trying to think of the best place to even really begin outside of admissions of wrongness on my end, which is like obviously we got the whole like Congress verifying the election, which obviously echoes, January 6th. I thought maybe they were going to do more with that, with like rioting at the Capitol and stuff like that, but they didn't. And yeah, so we have this whole thing where, we of course know as the audience going into this episode that Starlight that's hanging out with Huey is not Starlight. Starlight is really chained up with like Black Noir Lunchables in an apartment somewhere.
Lean lad is what they called
Yeah.
them. It's like lean cuisine mixed with a Lunchable. I know that whole shebang. Emphasis on the bang was interesting because the first thing that we said when we were watching it was like, why aren't her eyes glowing? How did Huey not notice that? Like that's her trademark finisher. Like I feel like the first time he would have banged Starlight, Shifter Starlight, he would have known, and he
But
didn't.
her
Uh,
powers weren't working.
True. Good point. But even then, she always did a little bit of like a little fizzle, right? So maybe like a little crackle, the lamp would go. "Er." I don't know.
Maybe she wasn't in the mood for it, and Huey's not the type of guy to pressure. So
Yeah, and I feel like in the episode later on, she's like, "That's what you wanted, someone who's always down, who's not depressed, and stuff like that." So maybe it had been a while, but again, wouldn't that like raise your bells of being like, okay, if she was depressed and things weren't happening for a while, now it's like 20 times, under 20 times in 10 days? That's like 2 times a day.
I just say count your blessings and move on, bro. Like,
Yeah, that's a man's way of thinking.
yeah. She started using the fingers. She's two fingers,
Yeah.
which
She's
that gave us some insight into Huey that I'm not willing to unpack at this moment.
I mean,
Um,
he always there was always reference about him being a
yeah,
bottom, right? So it
yeah,
checks out.
yeah. It kind of does. Here's the interesting note about that, because my wife and I had a bit of a spirited debate after that episode as to how angry Starlight should have been over that. Um, my initial take is, of course, she has every reason to be upset, like 100%.
Yeah.
However, take it easy on the guy. Like, he was fully under the impression, it's not like he met someone somewhere and fooled around for 10 days. Like, he 100% thought it was her. Then he eventually kind of like put the pieces together and was the one who called her out and was like, hey, mother's milk. Whereas I understand her being locked up and finding out that you're boyfriend got engaged and banged someone else less than 20 times in 10 days, you have every right to be upset about that. However, thought it was her. And number two, maybe I'm just me, but I'm sort of like, Huey's been through a lot, man. Like maybe for once in like the last like 3 years of his life, there was like a kind of a semi-happy 10 days and he was just sort of enjoying it.
Right, yeah. I was like, oh, finally, the one good thing to happen to me. Like, that's fair. That's a good point. And I feel for her because it's like the person who took over can steal your memories, knows everything about you, your mannerisms, everything, and has that in lock and key because they basically download your brain. And so, like, you really like can't fight it. You can just be mad at the situation, but not really at the person, which is kind of how it fizzled into. But I was thinking too, with Huey, the actor that plays him, he's dating the lady who plays Newman in real life. Now that would be rough. Could you imagine being on set with your boyfriend who is in scenes banging the other hot like lead in the show? That would be hard.
Considering the paycheck, whatevs. Like,
Whatevs.
I'm totally fine with it. If I was like on a show like The Boys and my wife was on the show playing a character, and yeah, okay, that's whatevs. How much am I getting an episode? $80,000? Yeah, whatever. Knock
Yeah,
yourself out. Yeah,
I can put it past me.
yeah. We're going to Maui for 3 weeks after this, so whatever, fine.
Yeah, we'll make up
Yeah.
for those scenes.
But I do want to give props though to Aaron Moriarty, like acting in that episode where you're basically arguing, taunting yourself like back and forth. Like that had to be a ton of fun to just do those scenes to begin with.
Oh yeah, and she played crazy real well. Like with her mannerisms and her eyes going like that, I was like, you got the crazy eyes down real well, girl. Scaring me. But yeah, how fun is that? Especially to be like America's sweetheart turn into Soup, who's gone vigilante, but then into like a group, and then also is like another version of that is full psychosis, like sociopath. Like that's a lot of variety for Aaron to be able to put into acting.
Hmm. Yeah, and then so we get that like things take a turn in this episode that we didn't expect. Newman kind of realizes like, oh shit, like this is going to be way worse than I thought it was going to be, and decides to reach out to Huey and say, "Hey, I might have fucked up.
Yeah,
I
we all
might
saw
have
that
screwed the
coming.
pooch. Yeah, I might have screwed the pooch on this one. Obviously, yeah, the plan goes I end up president, but basically Homelander's hand is up my ass and I'm a puppet, and the whole thing about the concentration camps and everything.
Dude, and the ending for Newman was just like, did not see that coming at all. And how violent and aggressive, and to just get literally, for anyone who hasn't watched yet, you can leave our live now or pause or whatever. But to get ripped apart like that physically in front of your kid, and then the kid goes straight to the place where she ended up growing up, like for someone who was in a political thing and high stakes, you would think that they would put her in like a safe area and not right into an orphanage right off the bat.
Hmm.
But I feel like we're probably going to learn more about that place maybe in the next season if that's where they're putting her. But dude, they did her dirty for that ending.
Yeah, and that was, and especially because Newman, like that was her whole thing. Is like that's the last place she wanted her daughter to end up, and that could be a real smooth transition into season two of Gen V. If they are getting into that there, and yeah, I guess I we need to talk. I feel like we should talk about Butcher and Ryan prior to getting into the tentacle business.
Oh my God.
But
That
yeah, Butcher's looking rough. Butcher's looking real rough.
Yeah, he was like his even the whites of his eyes were so bad. And I was just like, this dude's on death's doorstep until, he accepts Kessler and then he's like right as rain. He was looking fire. I was like, Daddy Carl coming back. But I hate Ryan. So much. I just wish I could. I'm not gonna say that out loud, but like I just don't see the purpose that he serves, and he's so whiny, and like I don't like that he calls people dad when he barely knows them. Like it's just so weird.
Hmm.
His dad's
Well,
a crazy person.
he's a teenager. Like,
I was smarter as a teenager than that kid.
we all think we are. You know, especially since you're in this like bizarre position where he was basically raised in isolation with just his mom. And then Homelander shows up and is, oh, by the way, I'm your dad. And Butcher's serving as a father figure. And then you got ripped from that, and now you're at Vought Tower where you have powers and you're basically given everything you wanted, but you know you're secretly your dad's kind of unhinged, and there isn't a person in the world you can't kill at a moment's notice without even, trying. Yeah, that's gonna leave a kid that age a little messed up in the noodle.
That's true. And you know what they say about homeschool kids. Just kidding. But yeah, I guess you're right. Especially if you're looking for a parental figure, a father figure for a long time, and then you just get thrown into that shit show. It's like, I guess you don't know what to do. But at the same time, like his mom his whole life taught him what is right, what is wrong, and obviously just seeing someone murdering people and hearing about that, and also he learns the truth about how he was conceived, like, but he didn't have time to really think. They didn't give him the space.
Hmm. Yeah, and then I feel like with him, there's the constant battle of the sort of moral person that his mother raised him to be, that Butcher is, at least in his mind, has been an example of, versus the whole, or I can just have infinite power and do whatever the F I want. That kind of like trying to balance those two, especially a kid at that age. Yeah, it can't be easy.
Right, especially if you feel like you've been very insignificant for a long time, and then, with the getting pushed around in orders and stuff, like, yeah, if any kid had the power to do something, they would make very regrettable decisions. That's true.
Hmm. Yeah, especially then when he kind of snaps and kills the woman who basically raised him for a couple of years.
Grace, yeah, I
Yeah.
know. And just looks down at her and then moves on. Like, dude, you're unfazed, and that was crazy.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh God.
So yeah, then he leaves, and that's when just like you said, Butcher's like, okay, Kessler, let's do this thing, and then he's just right as rain.
Oh my
He's just ready to
gosh.
fucking go.
He
You know.
was. I know, it was great. But also I was just like, uh what does this mean now? He has now the vial and he's on a mission. What does that look like for all soups? Because what was interesting towards the ending of when they were collecting people, Aaron got away, Kimiko got away, and then I guess those were the only two involved soups, so they're going after the boys specifically. So I'm curious if they're gonna try to weaponize that again.
Yeah, especially since and Kimiko did not get away. Like they very much had hands on her when that whole thing ended. So pretty
That's
much
true.
Starlight and Butcher are the only ones who are
Free.
in the wind, so to speak.
That's Yeah, that's true. But I feel like Kimiko might be able to slip away because if they wanted her, they would have been ushering her towards the thing, or I don't know, maybe. We'll
Hmm.
see.
Well, and I can't remember his name, but what's his name from Gen V had the hands on her?
Sam.
Yeah, Sam. But I feel like, yeah, physically he could have matched her powers wise. So that's not like most people Kimiko can just like tear apart, you know.
That's true. Yeah, that good point. And so I was wondering when him and Kate were gonna come back into things, like how they were gonna use them because they put that glimpse a couple episodes back. I'm like, I know that they're gonna be put back in here. And to see that happen, oh my gosh. And then to hear her scream, and then, oh my God, I started crying. I was like, her one and only verbal line was no. Oh, that
Hmm.
hurt.
Yeah, and just after her and Frenchie had become a thing, like after 4 seasons, they had finally become a thing, and then he's getting whisked away from her.
talk about slow burn.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's like an ember
Hmm.
fanning it. Yeah, that was a very slow burn, and that, oh my gosh, I was cheering for that. Like, I don't care about Frenchie's past romances, but for her, she is not really. We haven't seen her have an interest in anyone. And regardless, I was really happy if their friendship would have been just platonic, or if it would have gone somewhere, because it was such a good burn, and it was more like on her terms of being able to explain that and then go after it. And I'm glad that he reciprocated because I like them a lot
Hmm.
together.
Yeah, me too. They're going to have a happy ending. I'm calling it.
I
Somehow, at the end of
hope
season
so.
5, they have to have a happy ending. They're going
Oh
to be
my
sipping
gosh.
margaritas in Tahiti and just.
I hope so. I really hope so. But so the other thing I want to bring up is Firecracker. So I know there's been some speculation on when Starlight stabbed her, if there was like Temp V or a virus of some sort or whatever, well, of some sort, the one that they were working on, if she's slowly getting sick from that versus the actual like medicine that she's using for the breast milk stuff,
Hmm.
which I feel like it's working out to be like that.
Yeah, and I keep wondering if there's going to be a point where character-wise she doesn't kind of turn, because you're talking about someone who idolized Homelander, idolized the Seven, got into the Seven, did everything in her power. I mean, even to the point of like taking hormone pills so that she could produce breast milk. Um, Apparently, pumping her breast milk to make cocktails ready for Homelander, just for him.
Cilantro.
Yeah. Just for him to be like, scoot down a chair. Yeah, go further. Go further.
Yeah, you're
You know,
coughing
just
all
like,
over me. It's gross.
yeah, just blatantly disrespect. And you could tell, like, emotionally, like, she's doing everything she can to, like,
Hold
I don't know, feel like
it.
she's on the inside track, and yet she's constantly getting reminded that you're basically just here to be a chess piece like everybody else.
Yeah, and I feel like it her position has been so degraded, like even compared to like especially compared to Sage, but even to Starlight, like there was not a lot of respect for her, but she was still a threat, right? They don't see Firecracker like that at all, and she was even saying like, just wait for you to underestimate me. I'm gonna be the one to shove a ship in your back. Like, I think she's gonna have a good turnaround because she's being treated so poorly. And at this point, she has a huge media outlet where she can broadcast stuff too, and people take her seriously because she asks a tough question. She tells the truth. And so I think that will be interesting on how she plays out. But I'm very curious on if she's getting poisoned somehow, if that's going into Homelander.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. Remains to be seen, right? And I kind of wondered that too. I think a lot of people, when she first started getting kind of sneezy coffee, we kind of wondered if somehow she didn't get the virus that we've been talking about, and but it didn't appear like she was breaking out in any kind of boils or anything. And like when Kimiko got it, it spread super rapidly.
Right.
So when she just explained it away as being, oh, it's just drugs from there. Yeah, remains to be seen. That'll be interesting.
That will be interesting. I feel like there's something up, but you're right. The other one spread way too fast unless they have made a dosage or if she did get hit. Because, like, if you have V in your soup, what happens if you get temp V administered to you?
Hmm.
Right? Is there something that counteracts it or what? But thinking about getting V in Ashley, and then also the funny part was when he spelled her name wrong. Is like, what's her last name? And they just start trying to murder another Ashley, and that was great.
Yeah, half the people in this building are named Ashley.
And then Black Noir is like, murder boner. Like he sounded very interested.
Yeah, I was
I
not
laughed.
expecting that.
Same, same. So we see that again, very huge spoiler, but Ashley stabs herself with V, and her wig falls off, and she has this weird thing going on in her brain where it's bubbling and gushing and doing some weird stuff. What do you think her power would be?
I have no idea. Like, it looked like her brain and or skull were getting bigger. So I don't know.
Think she could be Megamind?
Yeah, that was exactly what I said at that moment. I'm actually turning into Megamind or Brainiac from Marvel.
Oh,
Yeah, that's kind of what I wondered. Which, yeah, okay, great, but I, I, I fail to see how that would be super useful if Homelander comes after you. Like, it'd be awesome if she got something like some super wicked power. But I just mad that we got to wait so long to find out because they left that on like a massive cliffhanger. I kept waiting for them to come back and address that the rest of the episode, and they never did.
they never did. And I'm curious too because, we see Butcher, who had his eyes on Homelander for a long time, right? And so when he took it, his powers manifested to be kind of like Homelander's. He had the laser eyes and stuff. So I'm curious on with Ashley, with her being so ingrained into that, if she's also gonna have a superpower that manifests from the things that she's taken in, and what that might come out as. She might be like a morph of the Seven and have like weird abilities across the board. Who knows?
She's going to turn into Super Dominatrix.
Oh,
Like,
oh my God.
she's going to come out with 6 arm with a whip in each one.
Oh my God. I have a friend who I was talking to about it, and she said there might be something to go on like with her hair where it's kind of like a Medusa type thing,
Ooh.
which I think would be really cool. That could work on Homelander, but I would say I have a feeling it's going to be gross because when we've been seeing things happening lately, besides for Huey's dad, which his power was kind of similar to Huey's. Huey could transport himself and go through technically space and time, and then his dad was able to go through matter, right? And kind of like in a way of like a transportation. So I'm very curious. I want to know so bad what her power is going to be, but when you think about like the little Newman's daughter, she got really weird stuff happening to her, and then everything's weird and tentacly this season. I don't like that.
Yeah. And speaking of tentacles, um, Mother's Milk gets taken out by Mr. Love Sausage.
Oh my
Like,
God, big old dong.
which is like, considering the fact that Mother's Milk has OCD, that might be like the worst soup to send after him. Like, that's just repulsive and gross.
I know, and he's already had his run-in with him, with it, and then to get like, oh, did he get like strangled by the dick at some
Yeah,
point?
when they were in the hospital, yeah, it came
Ugh,
under the door and wrapped around his neck. And then it wasn't from Mr. Love Sausage, but at Hero Gasm got sprayed. I don't even know if that more fire
that is,
hose would probably be the more apt word to use.
yeah, that was very much fire hose-esque. Um, yeah, when I first saw him, I was like, is that the big wiener guy?
Yep,
He's
he just
big.
yeah, he saw it come in and whack, and then he just kind of like walks in, and you see him in the reflection in the mirror, standing there in his robe.
He's gonna have a heart attack, I think, after all of that. And yeah, so this episode so far, what would you rank it compared to the others?
I thought it was typical of the boys, kind of the way we started off this whole thing, where it was kind of like confusing, disgusting, hilarious, WTF, all at the same time. And it's been pretty par for the course of the boys so far in terms of season finale, like leaving a lot of cliffhangers, a lot of like, oh shit, what's going to happen? And then you're like angry when you realize how long it's going to be till the next season comes out. And you kind of want those questions answered like right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking that too. It didn't strike me as super like finale-esque. It was like it felt like there should be one more episode after it or something. But it does leave a lot of openings there, which I'm curious on if they edited any certain things out because of that. Because typically it was very much, yes, it left on a cliffhanger, but not, there's so many loose ends here.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess that's how you keep people watching, right?
Right. Yeah. Got to get everybody to come back for season 5. which, as we know, will be the final season. And like I said earlier, it'll be interesting when we get season 2 of Gen V, how much it's going to potentially answer some of those questions or show where people are or what's been happening. And
Yeah, I'm very curious on with Sam too because he's still going like no feeling at all. You could see it so much in this last episode. He was so neutral, no expression at all, didn't care. So somebody needs to take Kate out and not on a date with a sniper.
yeah, I feel like she's got it coming. I feel like it's just a matter of time till that happens.
She does. And I was thinking too, because there was the emphasis put on, shoot, I forget her name, the Marie, right? She has basically the same power as Newman. So everyone's like, oh, shoot, with Newman gone, will Sage be able to cure Butcher's tumor? That, or also is Marie going to come into play and pop his head? Still the potential for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so many ways it can go. So
Hmm.
many. I want season 5 right now, like right this second. Like this is irresponsible TV making when you're going to make a show this good, leave that many loose ends, and just be like, okay, bye. Especially in this position where basically Homelander's essentially the president, like not by title, but the man who is president is completely 100% loyal to Homelander. They've invoked martial law. They've called out an army of soups that are reporting directly to Homelander that basically have presidential freedom to do whatever the hell they want.
That's terrifying. I'm very, very excited to see how that will play out. And someone said, I still want to know Sage's endgame. I like her a lot. I like her too. She's a very interesting. She's giving me like anti-hero vibes, kind of like along the side of Deadpool, where they can help the good guys or the bad guys. It's just really whatever their agenda is. And she was giving very crazy energy at the end, where she's like, I just wanted to see if I could do it. Which means if she can do that, what else does she want to do? And we do see that she does tend to have more like justice type tones in her conversations. But that was with Newman, right? Where you thought that maybe she was being more vulnerable, but that could just be a game still. So we don't know if that's really truly how she feels. But it seemed very vulnerable. So I feel like she's gonna end up doing something good or just trying to take over everything, maybe.
Yeah, and I've distinctly gotten the feeling from her, from somebody like that who's like that super intelligent, that essentially she's a sociopath. Like she could care less whether her actions are morally right or wrong. It's more whether or not she can pull it off. Like whether or not she's right, whether or not she can do it. We kind of wondered about that when she, dismissed slash got fired by Homelander, only to find out that that was kind of like
Her plan?
she had yeah, she had calculated that anyway, that was going to happen, and everything had still gone off the way she intended.
Right. And you hear her talk in that episode where she got dismissed about there's still one person you can't beat, who we see at the end of the show. So I do feel like it was very calculated still, and just she wasn't rolling with the punches. And we see Soldier Boy come back, which I think Jared Padalecki confirmed that he'll be there for season 5, which means you'll have um, Soldier Boy, you'll have like Bob Singer, Robert Singer, um, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and then Jared Padalecki, which they all play in Supernatural. And they're all like Soldier Boy and Jared Padalecki, they're brothers in the show. Bob Singer's like the adoptive dad uncle figure, and then Jeffrey Dean Morgan is the dad for those who haven't watched Supernatural. So they're like a family. And that went on for 12 something seasons. So
Yeah.
it's really cool. And in this last one, if anyone has watched Supernatural, there's a point where Robert Singer said "idjit" and then also "balls" followed shortly after, which he's known to say those two catchphrases throughout the entire Supernatural show. So I was dying. I was like, this is great. I love that. OMG. So I like that they're giving a lot of head nods that direction. I'm excited to see Jared Padalecki in season 5.
Mm-hmm. And what it is on that note, what I really want is an episode, a total side episode, that is literally just Butcher, Kessler, and Soldier Boy sitting in a bar for like an hour. I want to hear that conversation. like,
That'd be a
like,
vibe.
give him some topic. Like, be like, so what do you guys think about tax shelters? And just let him go off for an hour. Like, that would be hysterical in and of itself.
That would be really great. I think they, oh my gosh, it's not often that a show could have a lot of spin-off opportunities, but this one can really, it could go in so many different directions, which is awesome.
Hmm. And Jason Soldier Boy is so good. I mean, he plays it so insanely well. And I love the way it's like,
You mean Jared?
obviously we're both,
Or wait,
yeah,
no. Wait, what's his name? Jensen.
yeah,
Jensen.
yeah, right. Um,
Some white guy name.
so, yeah, exactly. And I always thought it was hysterical because, I mean, obviously we're both, Marvel fans, and, I love Captain America, but the hilarious thing about the Soldier Boy is that it's like, yeah, if you actually legitimately took somebody from that generation at that age and brought them here, that would probably be their actual real reaction to society today. It would not be kosher. It would not be politically correct. The boomer generation had a very different view of things in the 40s, so yeah, anytime we can get him back on screen, I'm all for it.
Oh my gosh, agreed. And I do like that that's kind of what The Boys is doing. They're like, we're not gonna just fluff this up for you. We're gonna give it to you how you would expect it to truly be. Just like with Web Weaver, right? We're talking about he's more anatomically correct. See, this is what we're talking about. These are the things that we think about. Or transporting, or teleporting. I mean, I said transporting earlier too, but teleporting, you don't teleport with your clothes. You would be naked. So they're sticking to like, I was gonna say like the laws of physics, but they're really not applicable here. But you know what I mean.
Hmm.
What should be happening?
Right, and it's the same with Switcher. Is that her name? The one who took over Starlight.
Shapeshifter.
Yeah, shapeshift. Yeah, the because the funny thing about her is that like her, if it's a her, we don't even know.
That's true.
Her powers are very very similar to a character in the X-Men named Husk, who basically what it is she wouldn't like take on another person's look, but basically if she got damaged in any way physically, she could essentially rip off and be healed like a new body underneath, except for the fact that it would always rip off more like paper, and she was always fully dressed underneath in whatever clothes she was wearing. Whereas on this one, we're like, it's like, no, it's like ripping flesh off. It's like grotesque and gross, and you're leaving globs of bloody organic matter everywhere rather than just it being like a clean, smooth, looks great on a comic book page kind of thing.
Exactly, and I'm really curious too, which we didn't really get to see explore, where she said I need to recharge. Like I'm very curious on what that meant. Like, are you kind of taking her life source, which is creating this new skin, and you're collecting the memories, or is it just simply you just need to touch them? Because I feel like if you're if you're thinking about the realistics of creating flesh, that's creating energy. What are you taking? Like there has to be something when it comes to that, right? So I
Right.
wonder if that might be exposed or if it was just like this is just for the plot.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be. And then also just sort of the like you can see like once she came back and touched Starlight, she was able to heal. It's sort of like maybe it's like when she touches someone and like takes on their looks and memories or whatever. It kind of like has the clock's ticking on it. And
Hmm.
it occasionally has to like like she said, recharge sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought that was a cool component, but I would have liked to know more. But overall, I think the season was pretty good. I liked it. There was a lot of when we talked about this for the first review, where they dived a lot into everyone's more individual stories, which I think growing to know the characters a little bit more was really nice, and knowing all the things that happened to them. Um, and they don't do that just for no reason, right? Especially this late into the game. So they're creating a lot more emotional connection, which I mean, I feel like there's going to be something that happens in season 5 where they're building something up to kind of take us down a notch, and it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, it's gonna go out with a bang. Time to go back and binge the whole season. Amy, I agree. I feel like going back to season one, episode one right now, and just like absorbing all of it and its horrible, irreverent, wonderful nonsense all over again. Just cause.
Same, because they came out with the first season in what, like 2019?
I don't remember. That would make sense. I think timeline wise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see how they've aged in that time,
Hmm.
because been a while, and I don't know, Huey, he still looks like a baby to me,
He's still
but
Huey.
I feel like I remember him being very fresh faced at the beginning of the season. What, season one?
Yeah, four seasons of raining shit on him will age a kid a little bit, I think.
Filming in Canada.
Yeah,
Uh,
but what do you do?
that's
But
true.
yeah, so good season all in all.
Hmm.
We enjoyed it. We know we have season five. We still don't know any particulars on release date for season five. We don't know. I don't think any particulars for season two of Gen V, other than we know that it's being made currently. So hopefully that'd be great if it was like, in 6 months we can get season two of Gen V, and then 6 months after that we can get season five of The Boys, and they can just keep pumping it in there for us.
Get us our fix.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that would be nice. But yes, I think overall really good, and I keep seeing that they're saying season five will be written well compared to other really good shows. So I have a lot of faith that it's going to be really good, and hopefully crazy ending, but crazy in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely. So is that all we got?
I think so. I think the only thing we might discuss is just with our direction of the pod, which we talked about filming some mini episodes and then The Boys came out. So I think we might just take some time to recuperate and then get back into filming and doing some research on some characters, unless anyone has specific requests for us to cover certain things or shows that they want us to talk about.
Yeah, yeah. DM us on Instagram, either myself or Beans, or even at the Nerdy AF Instagram page. Let us know what thoughts you got, ideas, whatever. We actually do have a couple of mini episodes already recorded that will be coming out now that, yeah, that was going to come out, and like you said, and then, season four dropped. We're like, oh, we got to get all over this. So we're just going to run with that and hold on to these mini episodes that are character bio episodes. So, yeah, going to get those out here over the next couple weeks. And, yeah, we're just going to keep on rocking and rolling, baby.
Oh yeah, we might be able to do something, either a live or a pod on the Deadpool movie that's coming out with Wolverine. That's coming up soon, so hopefully y'all go and watch it too and give us your thoughts. I think that would be exciting.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Well, we'll let you guys go. Enjoy the rest of your night. Happy weekend, and we will talk to you soon.
Yeah. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.